It's all about the operational tactics and standpoint, because if you don't have that, then it's very confusing in your business, and the business that don't have that are losing a lot of money.
Hey everyone, this is Nazar Akil from Max Pro.
Hi, I'm Linda.
And I'm Paul.
And we're 11 Pebbles.
Hi, this is Lopa Vandermersch from Rasa.
Oh, you're listening.
And you are listening to the E-Comm Show.
Welcome to the E-Comm Show, presented by BlueTuskr, the #1 place to hear the inside scoop from other e-commerce experts, where they share their secrets on how they scaled their business and are now living the dream. Now, here is your host, Andrew Maff.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the E-Comm Show. I'm your host, Andrew Maff, and today I am joined by the illustrious Eric Castellano. Eric, how you doing? You ready for a good show?
Yep, absolutely, Andrew. Appreciate you having me.
Super excited to have you on the show. Obviously, you are with Amazon Lit. We've had tons of e-commerce sellers on the show. You are one of the first that we could probably comfortably say is very well known in the space. You're all over the place, tens of thousands of Instagram followers, all focused on Amazon. You have thousands of YouTube, like you're all over the place. So we can comfortably say you're a bit of an influencer in the Amazon space. I would love to obviously give you a minute here, tell everyone a little bit about your background, how you got where you are, and then we'll dive into all that Amazon drama that's always fun to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name's Eric Castellano. I've been selling on Amazon for about a decade now. We started in 2013. And in the beginning, it was the way most people started. I was doing retail arbitrage and online arbitrage and just kind of flipping these products. And I realized immediately that it's a lot of work in order to scale a business that way. So we kind of looked for a space we could get into that would allow for more growth. And that space happened to be Amazon Wholesale. So when we started doing Amazon Wholesale, we just took it and run with it. At the time, I was in college, construction, management I was studying to be, and I was working part-time jobs building homes and decks and doing renovations on people's homes, and I love that type of stuff. I still do a lot of it today, but it just wasn't generating the money I needed to make. So I went all in on Amazon. I stopped everything else and just fully focused on Amazon.
So was there any type of specific product line you stuck to, or was it more of the product research, what's selling, what's doing well, and then just sourcing that and moving on from there?
Yeah, so initially it was anything we could find at the big club stores like Costco, BJ, Sam's Club. Anything that we could find either coupon or discounted or at a reasonable price where we could make some money. So mainly, beauty, health products, and grocery, which are still the categories we stick to today.
Yeah. So primarily those are very competitive spaces.
Yeah.
And with the approach that you're taking, if you're going to big box stores and basically just reselling it from there, that margin's not massive. So are you it's obviously a volume game. So what's some of your secrets? What's the approach that you typically take? Because obviously I know we'll get into the fact that you have Amazon Lit, you have an entire aspect of your business now where you're showing sellers or people who want to be Amazon sellers how to do this. So I'm positive that you've narrowed this down to a pretty solid process.
Yeah, absolutely. So early on, you're absolutely right, Andrew. Early on, our margins were very low because we were doing those club store purchases and retail store purchases. And we found that when we made the transition to wholesale, we were able to build relationships with these companies and capitalize on getting huge discounts, sometimes up to 25% off of wholesale pricing. So now we're even getting it cheaper than the retail store selling it, less 25% on some of them. So it creates a lot of opportunity. So it's really for us, what allowed us to scale was the relationships with the distributors that we do business with. It's all about the relationships, because if you have the relationship, they're going to give you a better price than they're going to give you the next person.
Yeah. So is your tactics in terms of getting product out there, starting to sell, and is it heavily on the advertising side, I assume?
No, we spend very minimal on advertising. We spend about $10,000 a month at about a 5% ACoS. So our goal is just finding products that people trust already, like Revlon, Head and Shoulders, Old Spice, Mitchum deodorant. Products that people have been using for decades. They don't need to see an ad. They're going to buy it already.
Yeah. So you're basically catering off of, or I should say, you're leveraging pre-existing brand awareness and
Yes.
just kind of going after that. So the advertising side really is kind of pointless because you're going to show up organically pretty high up there regardless.
Yeah, absolutely. There's definitely some SKUs that we got to pump some advertising spend into, but I'm comfortable doing that because the rest of the business pretty much sells itself.
Yeah. So what made you, I don't want to say pivot, but what made you kind of expand into Amazon Lit and starting to show people your secrets?
Yeah, definitely. It definitely wasn't a pivot. I think it was more. Well, I guess it was a pivot, right? But we still operate, a massive Amazon business. So really, what happened was it was 2018. I was in this office with my business partner Sebastian, and I saw my first FBA course ad ever that I've ever seen in my entire life, and I got so excited and I bought it immediately. It was $3,000. I'm not going to say who it was from. But I was just so excited that other people were talking about this because at the time there was no Instagram, nobody talked about FBA, 6-7 years ago. So I bought it, and within about 5 minutes of watching it, I found like 5 or 6 things that were completely inaccurate, and I was very disappointed. And that night, Sebastian and I, we looked at each other and we said, we're going to build the world's best Amazon FBA program and push it out to the community. And we're like, what are we going to call it? And we threw some names around and came up with Amazon Lit, and it's been like that ever since.
So what, the concept of taking courses and going that whole approach and convincing people to sign up for them, there's so many people out there that do stuff like this now. And obviously you've done a fantastic job at standing out from everyone else because you can tell by the following you have and the results that you've been able to drive. But even from the course alone that you started to develop, what is it that you did that's kind of showcasing, like, here's why all those other courses are more or less BS and you want to check out ours?
Yeah, well, I really think the proof of concept, it's not like I used to sell on Amazon or one time in my life I sold on Amazon.
Yeah.
Like I still today operate one of the largest wholesale Amazon businesses in the world. We're top 50 Amazon sellers. So like that proof alone says a lot. But I think what really separates us is we provide weekly coaching with our group that me and myself and Sebastian are on every single call, So you're not just getting a course and saying, here, figure this out. You're getting guided through the course and guided through the program by Amazon professionals. So It's completely different than what most people are offering.
So let's kind of get into a little bit of opinionated stuff here.
Yeah.
So there's theories around, obviously, since as of recording of this, it's middle of May. I think it was I want to say it was in February when Amazon increased their cost again, but I think it was another 5% hike or something like that. And obviously Amazon's consistently increasing pricing, obviously with inflation and everything. So is everyone else. But Amazon and any marketplace really consistently becomes more and more expensive, and you get a lot of sellers that are doing everything they can to kind of diversify and things like that. And I know that we had spoke earlier, it's 90% of your business is through Amazon, 10% you're still doing private label elsewhere. Yeah. But what's your thoughts on where this is going to go? Like what's going to happen if you start getting priced out of Amazon?
Yeah. So my honest opinion, this is a great question, Andrew. I love these thought-provoking questions. So my honest opinion is what we do as a business with Amazon Wholesale, the whole bundling of items, kitting items, creating multi-packs and variety packs, Amazon doesn't want to get their hands in that. And I don't think they'll ever want to get their hands in that. It's just too laborious for them. So it opens up an opportunity for people like me and you and other people listening to really do that for them. So I don't think that's going anywhere. But the shift I do see happening in the next 2 to 5 years is a lot more of these smaller niche brands that we're seeing pop up on Amazon. They're going to do one of two things. They're going to start selling the products themselves, or they're going to partner with reputable third-party sellers like myself and some of these other bigger guys and girls out there, and have them manage the brand for them, opposed to having 7 to 10 sellers just fight to the bottom.
Yeah. Are you referring to basically a third-party company managing it for them, or are you referring more to like some of these aggregators like Thrasio and all those guys out there that are just gobbling up everyone that they can find?
No, the first option, just a third-party seller managing everything for them. So someone who still wants to own their business, they're not ready to sell. You know, a lot of people come to us, they look for us to sell their products because they went to Walmart or they went to Kroger, and Kroger said, hey, you don't have any Amazon sales. I can't put your product on my shelf until you prove that you're selling, you know, a couple thousand units a month on Amazon. Because if you're not doing that, the customers don't want it. You know, so a lot of companies are like, okay, I need a third-party seller to at least do what I can't do because I don't understand how to do it, sell these products, advertise for them, fulfill them, deal with customer returns, and just deal with the whole, you know, orchestrated process that needs to happen to get the products to the end consumer.
In these cases, when you're primarily wholesaling, do you own the listing?
We do not own the listing. We do create listings that we own. It's called wholesale bundling. There's definitely a method to do that. But 90% of our SKUs are SKUs that we do not own the listing for.
And so it's more or less the race to the bottom to own the buy box, correct?
Yeah.
So what happens if, I mean, I understand, you know, we spoke earlier about you kind of leverage these pre-existing brand names and there's natural search volume for those regardless. But what do you do when you come across, let's say, you know, your traditional listing optimization issues of their titles garbage, bullet points are like horribly done if they're there. There's one picture, like they're not, you know, there's kind of two different approaches that I've always seen on Amazon, which is the, you know, pump out a ton of volume and hop in a buy box and make your money and get in. Then you have like the brand building side where you got to put a lot of work into design and developing a storefront and all that stuff. So it's kind of two different worlds. But what happens when you come across a listing that's just kind of beat and you're like, I got the product, but I just can't get them to optimize this the way it should be?
Yeah, so the first step would definitely be attempting to edit it yourself. Sometimes a lot of these listings, they're not connected to any owner because they were created so long ago. So you can go in and update pictures and bullet points. But if that's not the case, and I see a phenomenal product that has potential, but the listing is trash, I'll reach out to the brand and let them know, like, hey, listen, let's partner up. You know, I can create your brand registry. I'll create your storefront. I'll create enhanced brand content. I'll even throw ads at it for the first 2 or 3 months to prove myself. And then once the business is growing, I'd like to put that ad spend on you, and you just continue to provide me with the best pricing, and I'll take care of everything else.
How often does that either get accepted or denied?
Yeah, so accepted, I would say probably 20% of the people we reach out to are actually open to doing that. The other 80%, they're not open today, but that doesn't mean a no today is an indefinite no. It just means no today. I'll reach back out in 30 days, 90 days, 180 days, and keep following up with them.
Yeah. What about other marketplaces? Have you ventured into trying out Walmart and eBay or Wayfair, depending on whatever it is you got?
Yeah, we've done a lot of Walmart, a lot of eBay. You know, I've done some Facebook Marketplace and OfferUp. I just found we essentially cut out all that other stuff because for right now, for our business, the past 2 years and continuing, FBA wholesale for us has been so lucratively profitable that we don't want to allocate any of our time anywhere else.
Yeah. So you're solely on Amazon. You don't have any other aspects off the platform right now?
No, just Amazon.
Interesting. And is there, and so you do have your own private label, correct?
Yes. Yeah, we have about 6 different private label brands.
So have you ever considered going into the aggregator business? And, you know, because there's countless of them now. I can think of how many there are, but like, have you thought about, now that you're private labeling more, starting to look into these other brands that are private labeling, doing decent on Amazon, starting to acquire them?
You know what? It's something I haven't considered, really just due to time. But absolutely, that's not out of the question. It's definitely something we would get into in the future, 100%. You know,
what's your theory on those aggregators?
I
some
think
people love them, some hate them.
Yeah, listen, I don't really have an opinion on them. I think they're doing what they need to do. Like, people want to sell their brands, and there's people who want to buy them, so they're making it happen. They're getting the money together and they're making it happen. So I think it's great, especially for a regular Joe or Stacy, who literally built a private label company out of their basement and sells it for seven figures 2 years later. It's like so amazing that that can happen. So I love that aspect of it. And also, I just read an article that Scott Needham shared, or maybe Derek DeMayo, one of them shared, but like the aggregator space has like dropped 60% or 70% just in the past couple months, which is mind blowing to me.
Yeah. As of what's today's Thursday? I think it was last week. Actually, no, I know it was last week. I think it was last Tuesday. Thrasio ended up cutting, I think it was like 25% of their staff.
Yeah.
I saw a bunch of people on LinkedIn and all that fun stuff of people trying to help them out and find new jobs. So all of a sudden the e-commerce market just got slammed with a ton of people that are, I assume, are amazing at what they do. And so they're up for grabs right now.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on, e-commerce has been, I don't know the number off the top of my head. I should have it open, but the actual growth of it has slowed down. I mean, my theory is obviously post-COVID, we're not, it's not what it was. We obviously sped things up really fast, but do you foresee e-commerce to continue to slow down, or you think it's going to kind of pick back up and start to grow again?
No, it's definitely going to continue to pick back up and grow again. Just watching the trends over the past 10 years being in the industry, like it's had slow points where it goes down for a couple months, but always at the end of the year, the data represents that it's increasing. Just more people are shopping online out of convenience, mostly because it's super convenient to shop online. And then it's just super easy.
Yeah. What are you, with Amazon Lit, you mentioned you have everyone that gets to join in on these different coaching calls and things like that. I imagine, correct me if I'm wrong, a lot of the questions right now are on supply chain issues and inflation and Amazon pricing increasing. And like right now, it does kind of feel like the world is caving in on a lot of people there. Everyone's in that initial panic as, the market starts to take a turn. What are you advising people to do during this time?
Yeah, so for wholesale specific businesses, I'm advising them to reach out to more vendors and suppliers. The best way to combat supply chain issues is to diversify the opportunities that you're able to purchase products from. So instead of having access to 10 vendors, if you make it 50 vendors, the chances of you running out of products become much lower. So I encourage people to not only reach out through email and phone calls, but also go to trade shows. There's trade shows all over the country. Fancy Food Show in Manhattan next week, Sweets and Snacks in Chicago, Expo East, Expo West, ASD. There's so many trade shows where you can go build relationships in person. So supply chain doesn't really affect us where we are, but I know for a lot of the newer guys and girls, it's affecting them greatly.
Yeah. You mentioned earlier I guess to the point of those trade shows, you beauty, grocery, and there was a third. I'm sorry, what was the third?
It was health, personal care, beauty, grocery.
Yeah.
Those are
So why those categories?
I just feel like their search volume on Amazon, like when you look at ranks on Amazon and you analyze the rank for, let's say, baby or patio and outdoor versus grocery or health and beauty, the product in baby needs to be ranked much, much lower for it to get the same volume. Let's say a product in baby is ranked 1,000. The equivalent sales in grocery would be a product ranked 10,000. So that means the catalogs in those categories are much larger, and the SKUs that are ranked well are selling much faster. So it just creates a lot of opportunity to get high volume sales consistently on a wide variety of SKUs.
And now that I think about it, based on every category you just said, it sounds to me like almost everything is a consumable. So you're pretty much getting repeat purchasers.
Yeah.
Whereas in baby, sometimes you buy a stroller, you buy it once, you don't need it again.
Yeah, absolutely. Some of our non-consumable products are usually more expensive. We sell a lot of like pool heaters, and we even sell like chicken coop doors, so, like crazy things that you'd never think of. But you're right, we might only sell 20 of those a month, but a 2-pack of Head and Shoulders shampoo, we're selling 500 a month. So it weighs out evenly at the end of the day.
What's your tech stack looking like? You got all these rankings set up. You clearly have probably hammered out your top pieces of software that you usually suggest. So what do you guys usually go for there?
Yeah. So we actually, it's funny you talk about tech because we have 5 in-house web developers who are always, creating new programs and protocols and calls to all these different softwares. Because my experience is I use 3 softwares. I use Keepa, I use AZ Insight, and I use a UPC scraper like Scan Unlimited or our own Source Correct. Those 3 softwares are really all you need for Amazon Wholesale. But the issue is when you start to scale, you have issues with inventory management in your warehouse, so it's like, how do you deal with that? There's no out of the box software to do that. So what we did was we hired web developers in-house to kind of build these systems for us and also to create processes where they can talk to each other because there's no out of the box software that really helps wholesale sellers like us.
Yeah. That sounds like that's probably your next business venture. Am I right?
Yeah, 100%. The next business venture will be scaling out Source Correct to, a couple thousand users and then selling it because my honest opinion, not just because we created it, but it's the best UPC software in the market, 100%.
So what's your end game with the business as a whole? Is it to eventually sell?
Yeah, we would love to sell. We got a pretty hefty offer right before COVID started, and I'm so grateful we didn't take it because immediately after COVID, our business tripled. So it's like, we could have got out then, but we were ready to, and it worked out perfectly. So yeah, the goal would be, a couple years down the line, 5-6 years down the line to make a hefty exit. But right now I love it so much and we're making such great money and it's helping, our consulting business. We're building softwares around it. So an exit in the next couple of years, we're not making that happen.
Yeah. You're still a young guy. You still got a lot of time to keep growing it too anyway.
Yeah.
What so when someone signs up Amazon Lit, you kind of go through the whole coaching side. Do you usually talk to them about what their exit strategy is? Do you expect them to have one before they get started? What's your thought process behind that?
No, you know what? Most people who join our program or get started on selling on Amazon, they're not thinking about an exit strategy. They're just trying to make an extra $5,000 a month.
Yeah.
And really when it comes to wholesale, it's completely different than private label. Private label, you could build the company to 7 figures and someone might want to buy it from you, but wholesale, people aren't buying 7-figure wholesale businesses. They're buying 8 and 9-figure wholesale businesses. And they're looking more for the systems that were built and the connections that come with it. They're not just looking to take over your company without having the proper technique to manage it and also the relationships to continue to grow it.
It's a very interesting point. I never thought of it that way. That does make a lot of sense because, I talk with private label sellers all the time, and you have a bunch of different ones. You have the ones that kind of are really focused off Amazon and have Amazon as kind of a secondary. Then you have the other side of things where you have the people that are so hell bent on Amazon and they spend day in and day out tweaking a little word here and there, expecting it to make some big difference. And then they get upset when it doesn't, like the little black hat guys that'll run ads but they'll change the search URL just to kind of change, or they'll start incorporating ManyChat because it's great. And then you used to have the review guys and it's all a nightmare with that. But I guess with wholesale, really the breadwinner there is focusing on good product that just has the volume on Amazon that you can get involved in. Am I right?
Yeah. And also, and the last thing would be building out your processes within your warehouse. Right now below me, I have 45 employees and it's like an orchestra, like everything just runs to a T every single day. So like if someone's going to buy my company, they're buying that, because they don't have to build it. It exists already.
Yeah. So really you could almost say that from a wholesale perspective that you really have to be a operational genius because the marketing is kind of already done because you're leveraging these pre-existing brand awareness. So as long as you can operate at that kind of scale with that kind of volume, that's really all it takes to, I don't want to say that really belittles it, but I mean, like that's basically what it takes to be successful on a wholesale side. Am I right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's all about the operational tactics and standpoint, because if you don't have that, then it's very confusing in your business, and the business that don't have that are losing a lot of money at scale, you could be talking tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars a year just by inefficiencies in your workplace.
Yeah. Pros and cons of wholesale versus going private label.
So private label cons would be, right now, shipping is crazy expensive. To get a private label product off the ground, figure from inception to first sale, it could be up to 6 months, by the time everything's active, the listing, the test order, all that. Some pros for private label: you can exit it. You don't have to build it to 8 figures to make a pretty hefty exit. Also, another con is just all the black hat tactics. I don't know if you know Derek DeMayo, but he's a good friend of mine, and he made a massive exit, and we talk all the time, and he's like, Eric, I don't think I want to get back into the private label space because these Chinese competitors are really just doing everything to kill me right now.
Oh, yeah.
And it's scary. It's a scary place to get involved, but there's a lot of upside because I know dozens of people who've made healthy 6 and 7 figure exits from building private label products. So I think that's the upside. The downside is just the time it takes to do it. And then a lot of times by the time the product gets here, some other competitor came in and just is crushing it, and now you're screwed.
Yeah.
Pros and cons for wholesale. The pro, you can literally start selling products tomorrow. So it's very easy to get started. You can start getting your first disbursement check in a couple weeks. All the products are sourced domestically. A con would be there's competition. So if you're not doing your product research properly, or you don't have the proper relationship set up, you would be essentially doing a lot of work for a little bit of money.
Interesting. So I imagine a lot of this stuff is basically things that you teach within Amazon Lit. Am I correct?
Yeah.
So I sign up for Amazon Lit. Walk me through what that whole process is like. How do I get started? What's some of the tricks? Like what is the benefit of signing up for this program?
Yeah. So first of all, nobody gets into the program without having a conversation with me first. The reason why is I'm like the gatekeeper to the community. I don't want anybody in the community who's just trying to buy a course to steal information or to bring down the community. Morale is super important. So I jump on a phone call, make sure you're a good fit, you're locked in. The first step would be watching the course content, right? Thoroughly. It's designed to be interactive. So it's not like a movie where you watch the whole thing and then you take action. It's like, no, you watch this module and you do what we tell you to do, and then you move on to the next one when that step is complete. And we essentially guarantee if the people in the program do that, their business will grow 4 to 5x in the next 12 months without a doubt. It's proven, right? Secondly would be they show up to the Monday calls and they participate. We find the people who participate, ask questions, answer questions, they see the most growth. And the last thing would be communicating in the private channels, helping other people, not only asking for help when you need it, but also providing help when someone else needs it. So we create this atmosphere of growth and a community where we got about 650 people in there, and they're all helping each other. We're helping them. It's pretty amazing.
Nice. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
What do you have any? I imagine these may not be public, but do you have any statistics behind the people that have signed up, the results they've seen in X amount of time, or do you have just some kind of glory story that you always tell? This one guy did this and it was nuts. What are some of the testimonials that you get from some of the sellers you work with?
Yeah, so our success rate is very high. It's upwards of 98%. We've had out of 600 people, we've maybe had 2 or 3 refunds. People, when they get in, they don't want to leave. But the success story that you're referencing, I would say it's this gentleman, Ethan. Ethan, I had a conversation with him about 18 months ago. He called me one night and he's like, hey, my dad wants to join this call, because he was 19 at the time. His dad, he was in college, so he didn't have any money. He was making a little money on Amazon. So, Papa Ethan wanted to be there. We ended up talking for 2 hours. He joined the program, and this guy just hustled it out. He grinded it out. 18 months later, as of about 2 or 3 months ago, he's now doing $13 million a year on Amazon, which is truly mind-blowing. He joined our inner circle. which provides, annual access to us where we fly out to his facility. We were just in Maine a couple weeks ago, helping him optimize it in person. So like, it's people like that, right? That just keep moving up our value ladder. Like they watched a YouTube video, they joined our course, they joined our inner circle, and now their businesses are 1,000x from when we started. Like that's what gets me excited. And that's why I continue to help as many people as I do, because I love those stories, and that's just one of dozens, if not hundreds that I have.
That's pretty crazy. That's you said 18 months?
Yeah, 18 months. Dude's an animal.
That's insane. Oh man, that's nuts. Eric, super appreciative for having you on the show. I don't want to take up any more time. I know you're super busy. You have like billions of businesses to help run, but I'd love to give you the opportunity to tell everyone where they can hear more about you and Amazon Lit, all that fun stuff, and we'll wrap it up.
Yeah, absolutely. Instagram, Amazon_lit. Check us out, as well as YouTube. And if you got any questions, just send me a DM. My messages are always open. I respond to them, so I'm more than happy to help. Andrew, it's been a pleasure, my friend. Look forward to doing this in the future. Appreciate your time.
Thanks so much, Eric. Appreciate you having on the show. Everyone who tuned in, of course, thank you as well. Please make sure you rate, review, subscribe, and all that fun stuff on whichever podcast platform you prefer, or to YouTube, and head over to ecommshow.com to head up to watch out the rest of our episodes. But per usual, appreciate y'all tuning in. We'll see you next time. Have a good one.
Thank you for tuning in to the E-Comm Show. Head over to ecommshow.com to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform or on the BlueTuskr YouTube channel. The E-Comm Show is brought to you by BlueTuskr, a full-service digital marketing company specifically for e-commerce sellers looking to accelerate their growth. Go to BlueTuskr.com now for more information. Make sure to tune in next week for another amazing episode of the E-Comm Show.